If you are new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Debunking common garden myths. Last year we had 4 segments of this. They were very popular. And we're going to cover a handful today of garden myths. And garden myths are practices in which we have been taught, passed down, read about, that we do, and there's really not any proof that it's beneficial. It's kind of more of a waste of time, money, and energy is what it comes down to in a lot of cases.
Right, definitely. So the first one we have is buried banana peels giving roses and other plants a potassium boost. So banana peels do contain high levels of potassium, but burying the whole peels could be bad. It's not bad necessarily, but what happens is that it takes them a while to break down.
Right, just like any composting process, there's a time period in which it takes for the microbes and the soil organisms to make that material in a usable form for the plants to uptake to feed the plants.
Right. So, yeah, that's exactly it.
Granular fertilizers are designed to either be time-release or water-soluble, which water-soluble means they're readily available for the plants to pick up. Time-release is over a period of time. They break down according to the size, particle, nutrient value, and it feeds the plants. When you put eggshells in the hole at the time of planting or a banana peel, it's not instantaneous nutrients available to the plant. That thing's going to sit there until it breaks down to a particle size, or I'm not a soilologist here. You know more about this than I do.
Right. So what happens is that it needs to go through the composition process. And if you just put banana peels in your soil, that's fine, but it could take anywhere from a year to 18 months for the plant to actually benefit from that potassium.
By putting it in a compost pile, the compost pile heats up, breaks down much, much quicker because of all of the microbial life that is in that compost pile, and it can be utilized much more beneficial as a compost material rather than a solid piece of vegetable or skin or fruit skin or vegetable skin underneath the base of your plant.
Right. So that's one. Newly planted trees require staking. So
we see this.
We see this all the time. If your tree is top heavy, or maybe you put it in a really windy location, otherwise it doesn't need staking. A little movement is good for the trees because it allows them to get their strength.
Right.
Essentially, it's kind of like when we start seedlings. Many people will put blow fans on their seedlings once established because they're going to put them outside in the elements. If you stake your tree and it's not necessary, you're not helping that.
You're weakening the tree. Now, some straps with some movement is okay. Some people put 1.5 feet of wood chips around the base, which is not good. Secondly, they strap it down like they're trying to hold a TV antenna up on a hill where there's no movement whatsoever.
Right.
So in a year, number one, the bark begins to grow into whatever material typically that is being used as a strap. So you're hurting the tree that way. Secondly, in a year's time, you remove the straps, and that tree is weaker than it was the day you planted it because you've basically said, hey, I'll take care of you for a year. You don't have to worry about building any internal trunk structure for your life cycle.
Right. So you don't have to do it unless it's top heavy and or you're in a typhoon area.
But don't strap it down.
Don't strap it down
so tight that it can't move at all.
Right.
Some
so
movement is good.
Yeah. So unless maybe there's a typhoon coming, then maybe you wanna stake it down before that happens.
Another one is the myth is that you can put beer in the garden as a fertilizer substitute.
Yeah, that's not true. Basically, beer is mostly water and sugar.
A high level of sugar.
High level of sugar. So you're not really doing anything to the microorganisms. Basically, if you want to do something good for your plants, you just buy some fertilizer, buy some nutrients for them, and you save that beer for yourself.
There was a gardener many years ago. He's passed on now. Jerry Baker. He was a PBS. Every time they ran a telethon, Jerry Baker was there talking about feed this, feed that, can of beer this, can of beer that. It feeds the microbes. The sugars in it does this. There's really not a whole lot of scientific benefits behind this.
And I'm just trying to figure out why.
He sold a lot of books because people thought, you put beer in this, you put beer in that, you spray it on your plants, you spray it on your lawn. It's supposed to do all these great things. Really, the science has shown there's not a whole lot of information.
It
that
is
states
good,
that.
though. It is beneficial for if you have slugs. I know that.
Right. Not to spray on the slugs, but to make beer
yes,
traps.
Make beer traps for them. That's probably the most beneficial thing for the garden. There's another one here. Baking soda cures black spot. So black spot is
Go ahead,
is that little spot that you see on maple leaves.
And also on roses.
Oh, on roses.
Roses is a predominant one that people think that it will benefit from using the baking soda, and simply not the case.
So instead, if you have roses with black spot, you can use a spray with 1 part milk, 2 parts water, and then you would spray that and help control the mildew.
Right, controls it. And that's the same type of remedy in which you use for powdery mildew on your squash and vine crops
Right.
In the late summer. So don't worry about, there are specific items at the garden center that are, organic and inorganic that can be used for these particular applications. And like if you're using the baking soda, you're just you're wasting your time. There's science has proven that there's no significant value to that whatsoever.
Right. So another myth is coffee grounds to lower your soil pH. Yes, coffee is acidic itself, but once you brew your coffee, it loses that acidity. That acidity then goes to you, actually, and the coffee grounds then, and it's not super high in acid, but the acidity is brewed out, and the coffee grounds remain, but they are a good source of nitrogen. They're just not
A green material.
Right. They're just not a phenomenal source of acid or lowering your pH, but you can definitely...
People for years have been saying, you put coffee grounds, you pour coffee around your blueberry plants, it'll change the acidity, your pH in your soil. That's simply not the case.
It could slightly change the acidity.
Minutely. We're not looking at numbers,
right.
jumping from
there's other
5
ways
to
to
4.
adjust the acidity in your soil, and it's not coffee.
Right. There's other applications in which you
can. But it is go to organic matter.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We put it in the garden for the worms. It's about a 2% nitrogen, which you have to mix it in, otherwise that evaporates into the atmosphere and you lose it. But it's a great organic material to use in the garden as an organic building base.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So hopefully that has helped you learn some things that you didn't know. We learned a couple of things in the process of preparation for that particular segment as well. Thank you for checking out the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. For more, go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com for full-length in-studio video and podcast replay of Season 1. Season 2 underway and added weekly. Tweet us at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG to be part of the program.